Hi, nice to have you back. Let's continue on our journey. This will be fun. In today's part we will be getting started with Blender and where to get a base to begin with. After that we are going to get the base dressed up with some nice clothes we will be searching together and make it ready for the next parts. Let's go. First thing we want to download and need to become familiar with is Blender. Next software we need is Amazing Oswell. It's a plugin for Blender that does a lot of tedious work for us. It is called Cats plugin for Blender. We can download it via the GitHub website. Check the link under the video, click on Go to File and download the zip pack. Keep the zip pack closed. Install Blender and start it. Now we need to install the cats. Click on Edit, then Preferences and then click Install. Find your cat's zip file and choose it. Double check if the cats is activated after you installed it. We are now ready to get ourselves a base model we can work with. There are a lot of places where you can find resources regarding avatar creation. I will show you websites I use and what to look out for when thinking about what is a good base to work with. In this tutorial we are going to use the female base model from Panda. I will show you where to get it in a second. First let's look at the main websites I use to get clothings, hairs, and other assets as these things are called. An asset can be anything. I love to work with assets since I am not always able to make everything I want to use from scratch. The website you can see right now is gumroad.com. One of the biggest websites I know about. Pretty much every avatar creator knows about that website or even sells avatars or assets there. Me not though. Haha. Next website we gonna look at is booth.com. I personally don't use it that much, but I have heard there is a lot of nice and amazing stuff to get for free or buy. I think it is more popular for Asian creators because when you buy it is paid in some Asian currency. Check other YouTube videos on how to use the website if you need to. Next website I have for you is Jinxie. To be honest, I have not used that one myself a lot, but I think you will work out how to use it. Another great way of finding stuff to work with are free or paid market channels on creator Discord servers. Most creators will have their Discord on their webshops so you can join them easy. For this tutorial I talked to some amazing creators on Discord to get permission to work with their creations in this video. You can find links to their web shops under the video and I will show you the shops in a second. Shout out to Panda, Siren, and Cree for replying all three within a day. Amazing support inside the creator community. The webshops for said creators will be shown now, but I think we have talked enough and it is time we get going. Make sure to join their Discords if you like what they are doing and even consider supporting if you can. Always watch out what license rights you get or what you are allowed to do with the stuff you download first. Sometimes even a shout out is enough if you want to use creations from others. If you have any more questions about this topic, feel free to ask in the comments. I will try to answer as many as possible. After starting Blender you will be greeted with this small window. We click General on that. After this I'm using a key combination. I press the letter A and delete to get rid of all the preset stuff we start with. We don't need that. Now we need to click that little arrow button top right. Click on Cats. If you cannot see cats there, you maybe messed up the cats install part. Try it again and make sure you checked the cats checkbox as I showed you before. Now let's talk shortly about that cats plugin before we dive into it later. There is the import function. With that button we will be importing most of our assets into Blender. Why do we even use Blender, you may ask at this point? Well, we need it to be more free in the way we want to attach clothes, hair, shoes, and all the other stuff that makes our avatar the way we want it. Those assets come with textures and maybe even materials. Those are things we will need later on. For now, just before we export out of Blender into Unity, we don't need to put much attention on those. Keep in mind that importing assets into Blender can work with the textures just fine and you will be able to see the asset it is meant to be. It is also possible you only see a white or pink asset. If this happens, don't worry, we will fix it later. For example, after importing the head into Blender, it may look like this. Don't worry, as I said. It is fine for now. After import model, we have some more neat stuff. Separate by is a handy tool that can separate by materials or shapes or even loose parts. This comes in handy if you want to mess with the meshes and add more materials to the assets you are working on, or even delete things you don't want on them. For example, we import an hair asset. We could delete certain hair strains we don't want to have on our model and could separate one or more hair strains to give them another color later on. Next up is merge armatures. I use this one a lot as most assets come with the armature attached to it. An armature you can think of as the skeleton under the mesh. With this function we will build our avatar from loose assets into one nice model. It will keep the armature we want and delete the other while merging all the meshes together. The weight painting will be merged as well and you will see it will just magically attach everything. After this, I want to mention optimization and decimation mode. I'm not sure how far we will look into this in this series, or maybe it will be topic for a separate video. Optimization is a really important part and I cannot stress enough to always keep optimization in mind. Before we start importing all the stuff now, a quick tip is to keep all the assets and textures that come with them in one folder to have it ready when we need them. If you buy the Panda base I showed you before, you will see a blend file in there. It's better to use that instead of importing the FBX, but not every asset comes with a blend file. Others maybe only have the blend file and no FBX file. Blend files you only need to double-click and Blender will import them. I did import the Panda base by double-clicking and imported a bikini asset via the import button. Now we are going to rename them to clearly be able to see what will be our base and what armature will be merged into it. Remember, by merging the armatures the meshes will combine but the armatures will be merged. That means we should have full weight painting on our meshes and this results in mostly no clipping in the end. Checking the base armature and the to be merged armature again. Just to make sure. I uncheck join meshes because I don't want my meshes to be joined automatically. It's easy to separate the meshes later again and we will be doing that, so it should not be a problem if you use it. Now we import a head. In this tutorial we will be using the head I showed you in the beginning. Before we click on Fix Model, what we always want to click after importing, we need to check if we are going to fix the correct armature. In this case it automatically chose the correct one. I am changing the Fix Model settings a little bit. As you can see, I uncheck Join Meshes as we need to work with the meshes at that part now. And I uncheck Fix Materials because we will be fixing the materials on our own before we export out of Blender. As you can see, we got an error after fixing the model. This happens because the head we imported does not have any bones, beside the ones inside the head. After merging the armatures it will be fine. On the top right side you can see now the armatures have been merged, all the meshes are still separate and we can continue. I did not mention the overlay button until now. We mostly use it to hide the armature bones and only see the meshes. It makes working easier sometimes. Now we rename the mesh called body to head because it is the head of our model. Always keep your projects clean and tidy to make working easier. Next step is to click the ball icon lower right side of the screen. It's the materials settings. Scroll all the way up if you have to, To see the different material slots attached to this mesh, I am renaming the material name from FX to head because it is the material that covers the head of the mesh. Then I'm scrolling all the way down to change the texture async to the material. You want to select the textures that come with the asset you are working on. In this case it is the face texture that came with the head asset. After selecting the correct texture, the asset shall be visible like it is meant to be. Now we scroll up again to check the eye material slot. Same as with the head. After changing to the correct texture we can see the eyes how they are meant to be. If we want two different eye colors, for example, we could easily do that by separating the meshes. To do this, click the head mesh, then click Separate by Materials since we know the eyes have their own material. Hide the head mesh so we can work on the eyes easy. Then click the eye mesh and on the top left side enter edit mode to edit the meshes. Activate X-ray mode to be able to select everything from only one side. Then select one eye and click on mesh, then separation and separate selection to separate the selected parts from the eye mesh. As you can see, we now have two separate eye meshes. Leave edit mode and go back to object mode. We can go ahead and change the material slots and the textures now like we did on the head before. Don't forget to rename everything properly while doing so. Delete an attached material slot by pressing the minus button here. Add a new one by pressing the and button and rename it before changing texture. Now we have complete heterochromia. Cool. After we finished this, select all the meshes that are meant to be the head by clicking them and click Join Selected Meshes. Make sure the final mesh is called properly or rename it if needed. Same goes for material slots. Next part we will be focusing on some clothes and hair as well as other accessoires to get a nice base theme running for our new to be VR chat avatar. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. If there are any question, feel free to ask them in the comments. Have a nice time. Bye.